Hi, my name's Peter Roberts. I am a composer and sound designer, and I'm founder of the company Copper Cloud Game Audio. The reason I founded Copper Cloud Game Audio was to provide custom, quality, and beautiful game audio to folks in the indie dev community, maybe such as yourself. I'm here today to talk a little bit about dynamic music. I'm going to cover the two most basic forms of dynamic music, and that's vertically adaptive music and horizontally adaptive music. I get my ideas and my terminology from this book right here. It's Writing Interactive Music for Video Games. It's by Michael Sweet. The way that vertically adaptive music works is you have a bass layer that is always playing, and then you stack layers on top of the bass layer to achieve different effects as the gameplay state changes. For horizontally adaptive music, it is where you have one variation of the music with its instrumentation that can then be faded into a different variation of it. Now I'm going to show you some examples from my portfolio and give you some brief descriptions as the video is going on to give you a better sense of what I mean when I say this. The first one I want to show you is a game called Dash of Color. The base layer is a piano layer, which does not change ever. And then on top of that, you get different elements for the different colors of blocks that will appear. So there's yellow blocks, there's blue blocks, and there's red blocks. And each of those has their own vertically adaptive dynamic layer. So this layer always stays consistent, and then depending on what block is present, you have the different layers that stack up on top of that. So here is that one. The next one I want to share with you is the simplest adaptation that I have of horizontally adaptive music, where this one comes from a game called Fortifend. In Fortifend, you play a yearly cycle where for the first 3 seasons, spring, summer, and autumn, you are fortifying your settlement, you're building things, you're gathering resources. And during this time, there is one piece of music that is horizontally adapted to each of the 3 seasons. So spring has its own instrumentation, summer has its own instrumentation, and autumn has its own instrumentation. So I hope you enjoy this one. The next one I want to share with you is from a game called Fire at Campsite. In this game, you play as a campfire that's trying to ward off the woodland creatures from coming to destroy it. It's sort of a combination tower defense and roguelike game. So the base gameplay loop is with this purple background behind the campfire, and the track is called The Encroaching, and it sounds like this. as you move through the game, you get upgrades to the fire, and those upgrades cause it to have a different costume, and that different costume is accompanied by a different background. So as we go through this one, you'll hear first the regular purple background, then you'll see outer space, then you'll see adventure, then you'll see cyberpunk, and then you will see the spooky, eerie one at the very end. The next one is from a game called the Stickman, where it's a FPS game that's kind of cartoony, and it's inspired by Titanfall 2. And there are two elements to the gameplay loop. The first of which is parkour, so it's movement based, it's obstacles, it's problem solving in a skill based way. And then the second part of the gameplay loop is there's combat, where you're having to fight little cartoony guys that are trying to kill you. And it kind of goes back and forth between the levels. So this one is sort of a combination of vertically and horizontally adaptive, where it's more horizontally adaptive. But what happens is there's a base layer that's always playing. And then on top of that, parkour has a loop that goes along with that base layer. But as you get into combat, it switches to the combat version of the loop, but the base layer stays consistent. So here is that game. There's going to be an example from World 1 and then an example from World 2. Hope you enjoy. The last one I wanted to share with you is again from the game Fortifend, but this one is the winter portion, which is the combat portion. So after you've built up your defenses, you have to defend against these hordes of enemies. The beginning of the winters always starts with the base layer. And then as more and stronger enemies are present, there are two different layers that stack on top of the base layer that increase the intensity. Here is those first three layers, and you hear them added pretty quickly because this horde is fairly large. So as more of them load into the map, you get to that third intensity pretty quickly. There are also a couple of more horizontally adapted layers to this based on how you're doing. So the intensity is only based on the amount and strength of enemies present. There is a victory layer where if you're winning, you're doing well. That will play. So here's that one. And then there is also a defeat layer or a losing layer, and that one plays if you're doing poorly, and it sounds like this. So that is the most complicated example of adaptive music that I've created. Thank you very much for sticking with the video this far. I hope that you have learned something. You have some more terminology with which to discuss dynamic music if you're ever in a discussion or if you're ever looking to commission a composer to do some work for you. Speaking of which, I'm available. I will leave my email and my Discord in the description. Feel free to reach out to me. Please like, subscribe, comment on the video. This helps reach more people, and send it to a friend if you want them to know a little bit more about dynamic music. Thanks.